Hello, welcome back to a new video on Horror Movie Collector. This is the 5th video that I'm doing on my horror lobby cards, and this is a continuation from the last video from A Nightmare on Elm Street to the next set of films in the series. And the next 3 sets are all Spanish, so this is the next set from A Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, Freddys Revenge. Again, starring Robert Englund and Mark Patton, and this is from the 1985 film directed by Jack Shoulder. Absolutely brilliant set of lobby cards from the second film. And you've got Mark Patton here again, who plays Jesse, and basically he moves into the Elm Street house after the Thompsons, Nancy Thompson and their family have moved out, and then he starts getting these weird nightmares and all strange things happening to him. Great shot there of Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger at the end of the film. Really super set of complete set of lobby cards, and it also stars, you can see just this girl here, that is Kim Myers, or Kimberly Myers, that I spoke about in a previous video, that she starred in the Hellraiser Bloodline a few years later. That's the swimming pool scene, that's near the end of the film. I think for me the second film, the first and second, everyone's got their preference with what film they prefer, but for me the first 2 films are probably the most darkest and the most creepiest, and the second film is again very serious, and then after that it starts to get a little bit more comical, even though they're still good. But for me the first 2 films I think are the best. That's the possession scene where he's just bursting out through Jesse's chest. Absolutely brilliant part of the film, the special effects. Another shot there of Mark Patton in the dream sequence scenes, and then Kimberly Myers there that plays Lisa. Really nice set from Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, and then moving on from that you have the Spanish set of Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3, which is the Dream Warriors. Again, absolutely amazing set of lobby cards. This is a few years later, so this set is 1987, and directed by, this is Chuck Russell, which his name is actually just on the bottom there. That scene is actually a deleted scene, or a scene that wasn't used, a scene that didn't work, which was a scene with a nurse. She's obviously transformed half into Freddy Krueger there, which wasn't used in the film. And then again you got Heather Langenkamp that comes back into this film. Sadly she actually gets killed off in this film, but then again she comes back again in the later series, which is Part 7 of Wes Craven's New Nightmare. The shot there, John Saxon. Again, he's very famous for a lot of films, really well known actor. Of course he was in Part 1, Nightmare on Elm Street, and he comes back in Part 3 like Heather Langenkamp. And one of the other great films that I love him in is with Bruce Lee in Enter the Dragon. Absolutely brilliant. There's a famous scene there where he cuts off the mother's head there with that is Kristen, the character Kristen. Yeah, that's like a more comical scene where he's on TV there. Brilliant shot. Great shot there, Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. So yeah, I found this one a little bit more comical. It was actually the very first Nightmare on Elm Street film that I ever watched, and again, because I've been that much younger, I was probably about 11 or 12, so yeah, it pretty much scared me and I couldn't sleep that night after that. And obviously being the very first time I'd ever seen a Nightmare on Elm Street film, and it was this one. And maybe, of course, I shouldn't have watched it back then, but it was my first introduction to Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy Krueger. And then you have a little bit more involvement with Freddy Krueger's mother, Amanda Krueger, which is this shot here. So you get a bit more involvement into the backstory of who he was and how he came about. So as each film goes on, you get a bit more detail about his backstory, which is very limited in the first film. This is probably one of the most scariest scenes in the film, this film, where his veins are pulled out and he's being pulled along like a puppet on strings, which I do remember scared the hell out of me the very first time I saw it at the age of probably 12, 11 or 12, but very effective scene, very, very clever. And that actor there is Bradley Gregg. He plays Philip. He makes all these little puppets, and then in his dream, in his nightmare, he gets turned into one himself by Freddy Krueger using his own veins, which is quite disturbing, I think, for the times. And then on from that, you have the fourth film, which again are Spanish set. This one is directed by Rennie Harlin, and this is the 1988 film, so it really follows on from the third film. Great shot there of Freddy Krueger, and again there. And again, it's a little bit more comical. It has a few scenes, again, when I first watched it was a little bit disturbing at the time, but now I actually find it quite entertaining or quite funny. This is, you got the famous pizza scene with the meatball scene, which is actually one of the heads of one of his victims. That's the character of Kristen. Great shot there. That's the scene when she gets turned into an insect, that victim, which is it's quite a sick scene in the film. The scene at the end in the church was amazing, the way all the victims are trying to burst out of his chest. It just worked really well, where they all escape at the end, and they all sort of push in through his body. Really, really clever, and really great for special effects back then, with, again, no CGI back then like it is today. There you go, that's the scene there where she's turned into a cockroach, I think. It's a really quite a sick scene where her arms just get ripped off and insect limbs just come out of her body. And then the final shot there, Robert Englund, that's in the school, which is part way through the film. So so that's it for this one. Another great set of lobby cards, and in the next video there will be a continuation of the next set of Nightmare on Elm Street films and front of house or lobby card set. So thanks for watching this video, and happy collecting. Bye.